Ozkan the Codifier. Oh wow, looky. He's holding a helmet. Alright. Ozkan the Codifier is a necron cryptech in the Sub-Bekar dynasty, located within the Jericho Reach. Though loyal to his dynasty, he secretly works behind Overlord Regent AHHH's back, not to only revive the Pharaoh Amontek, the so-called Crimson Scythe, but house his ancient master in his body of flesh and bone. I have to change the music because it's hard to fucking read when somebody's singing like all right, I'm gonna read this again. Sorry, you gotta hear it again. Ozkan the Codifier is a necron cryptech of the Sub-Bekar dynasty, located within Jericho Reach. Though loyal to his dynasty, he secretly works behind Overlord Regent AHHH's back to not only revive the Pharaoh Amontek, the so-called Crimson Scythe, but house his ancient master in a body of flesh and bone. History. Ozkan has served the Sub-Bekar dynasty with unstinting loyalty since the earliest days of the War in Heaven. What's the War in Heaven? Was that the... Oh, that was with the old ones. Okay. That's the big one against the old ones, right? All right. I remember that. I just forgot what it was called. Okay, yep, I remember that. Yeah, the old war with the old ones. Okay. Okay. He provided sage counsel to the Crimson Scythe in those comparatively few moments when the Pharaoh was not shedding the blood of the entire species and laying waste to great swaths of the galaxy in the service of the Catan. The cryptech was known as the only being his master would tolerate voicing anything other than soothing platitudes, for so often Ozkan was proven to be entirely correct in his advice, even when it gainsaid Amontek's own intentions. Oh, so he had special privileges because he was smart. He was a smart necron. There is one particular matter in which Ozkan advised his master that far overshadows all of the others, and that was the issue of biotransference. Ozkan, the ancient and wise counselor, saw through the Catan's compact the moment it was offered, and despaired when, how do you pronounce that? Sazarek? The Silent King announced that it had been sealed. So Ozkan is really smart. He's a big brain. Zarek? Oh, it's just Zarek? Okay. Zarek. I think I said that. Okay, yeah. He's so smart. Ozkan knew, as no others appeared to, that the process would leave the Necron tier far less than they had been before, and he begged his master to disobey the Silent King's command. Any other counselor would have been struck down for such a display of disloyalty, but Amontek knew that Ozkan had ever served his dynasty first and himself second. The cryptech and the Pharaoh entered close council together, and the remainder of the dynasty's advisors and viziers sent away as the two debated the matter throughout the night. Ooh. By morn, the cryptech had been unable to convince his lord of a sound reason to reject the Catan's compact, for Amontek cared above all else for the slaying of the foes of his people. The Pharaoh simply could not envision any way the process might lessen the Necron tier. And so the mortal multitudes of the Sub-Bekar dynasty walked into the biofurnaces, and the living metal legions of the Sub-Bekar dynasty marched out. For Ozkan, to walk willingly into the blazing light of the furnace was the greatest act of loyalty to his dynasty he could possibly ever perform. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, good talk, but have you thought about killing? Have you thought about murdering our enemies? It was only much later, after the calamitous events of the war in heaven, that Ozkan's words would return to haunt the Pharaoh. Yeah, he's basically, I told you so. I told you so. He's like a ghost. The ghost voice echoing around. When the red tides of the galactic slaughter finally receded and the preparations for the Great Sleep were begun. Only then, at the very last, were the cryptech's words heeded, and by then, of course, it was far too late. Called it. Hi, Rare Scotty. I'm doing wonderful. I'm reading all about Oszkan. The necron. Despite what Ozkan took to be his great failure to turn his master against the Silent King's plan, he remained ever faithful to his Pharaoh, and, by extension, to the Silent King himself. Indeed, after biotransference, it was impossible to be disloyal, so embedded were the Silent King's command protocols in the mind of his servants. In Ozkan's case, his loyalty has remained so steadfast that he strives continuously to rouse his fallen sire, but not because he has been ordered by the Overlord Regent to retrieve the command protocols locked inside his blasted mind. Rather, the cryptech's tireless endeavors have led him into similar realms of thought as led the Silent King. Rather, the cryptech's tireless endeavors have led him into similar realms of thought as led the Silent King to take his leave of the galaxy in search of a means of reversing the soul-destroying fate of biotransference. Unbeknownst to Overlord Regent AHHH, Ozkan has remained loyal to his Pharaoh throughout the tumultuous events of awakening of their crown world, the Hollow Sun. So he's like, I'll play along with you guys, but I am most loyal to my old lord, my old bae, okay? Under the guise of carrying out the Regent's orders, the cryptech has, in fact, been seeking a means of investing a necron consciousness into a body of flesh and bone, and in doing so, of reclaiming all they once had. Oh, he's doing experiments. They were totally a thing. Yeah. He wants to return them to flesh and bone, or his main squeeze at least. Ozkan's researches and secret experiments have led him to the conclusion that only a body as strong and as tough as a necron's living metal frame will provide a suitable vessel for such a reawakening, and this can be attested to by the numerous failed experiments hidden deep within his chambers. He's a mad scientist, a robot scientist. Locked within the lambent glow of pulsing stasis chambers are to be found rank after rank of once sentient beings, including humans, orcs, Aldari, and Tau, and a dozen others, each of which has had a necron consciousness transferred into its mind. In each case, the body has proven too weak, or the mind too strong for the process, and the Codifier has failed, creating some hideous, mindless, insane creature more terrible still than a flayed one. What's a flayed one again? That sounds pretty bad. Oh, wow. Flayed one seeking new victims. Okay, what is a flayed one? They wear your skin. You know, I feel like I guessed some of that by the name alone. Through technology, we thought to defeat the natural order, but the onset of eternity cannot be denied forever. The universe will see us humbled for our presumption, yet its methods of attack are limited. We long ago removed our bodies from mortality's grasp and bartered away our souls for technological baubles and the trappings of power. Our minds, then, are all that remains for us to lose, and it is here that the next stroke against us will fall. Though our individual afflictions may take different forms, sooner or later we will all be lost to madness. By Zarek, last of the Silent Kings. That's an awesome quote. I like that quote. That's probably my favorite 40k quote I've read so far. Da, 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 da. They killed one katana and that's what they got. Well, that's what they get. Flayed ones are twisted and ghoulish necron terrors afflicted by an ancient infection. that breeds a hunger for organic flesh in them. Ugh. Flayed ones act as specialized close combat troops. They appear from an unknown pocket dimension of their hideous kind to join the Necron armies in battle, though never by invitation from the Necrons themselves. These loathsome creatures were once Necron tier who managed to retain some of their original consciousness when they were transferred into their living metallic bodies of necrodermis. But they were cursed with a terrible disease, manifesting a hunger for flesh that cannot be satisfied, and that eventually drove them to madness. Why? That's so mean. Advancing before a Necron force, these stooped yet terrifyingly agile automatons excel at infiltrating and spreading terror like a plague within the ranks of their foes. They are quite capable melee fighters and make use of flensing blades that extend from their fingers and can flay a man alive in seconds. Thin and wiry, they habitually adorn themselves with still wet pieces of skin and the hide they have stripped from their victims, leaving behind the skin corpses to sow fear and confusion. Yeah, I don't think I've never seen a metal skeleton try to eat someone alive. That just seems very impractical and sad. Some Necrons are stricken with a curse even more heinous than the madness of Necron destroyers. The nature of this curse is little understood even by the wisest of cryptecs, but its results are unmistakable. A victim of the Flayer curse first loses its sanity. In the case of Necron warriors, this may go unnoticed until far into the process, as a single malfunctioning warrior among thousands is easily overlooked. Claws can cut through Space Marine's armor like a knife through butter. That's cool that there's a nice fan-made story about one of them. So it starts where they ignore commands to cease fire or hold a position. Destroyers exist for the act of killing itself, or the extermination of life being both the means and the end. The flayed ones kill in order to sate an unnatural hunger. So they kill so they might feast. Wait. Flayed ones develop an ability to travel between dimensions. Many cryptecs believe the flayed ones inhabit an alternate reality all their own, inaccessible to other Necrons, in which they make their charnel palaces and heap the corpses dragged from battle. And also unknown, the flayed ones are able to somehow sense when their Necron brethren are in combat, appearing to slaughter the enemy to take the grisly trophies from which they derive their name. Other Necrons don't like the flayed ones, because they could pass the curse on to others and because they operate outside of the chain of command. So, history, here we go. They're victims of terrible madness. A curse bestowed upon them by the Catan known as Landagor the Flayer. When the Necrons finally turned against the... Is it Catan or Citan? It's Catan, right? Like the game. Like the game. I'm right, okay. Finally turned against the Catan in the last days of the War in Heaven, the Flayer was destroyed by the Necrons. Not simply splintered as were his brothers, but utterly obliterated. In his dying moments, the Star God inflicted a terrible curse upon the Necrons, tainting them with an echo of the fathomless hunger of its essence. The curse went unnoticed for aeons, but by the time the true madness of the condition began to manifest, the afflicted Necrons had traveled far and wide. How do they get their little knifey fingers? Does it just transform, or do they make them themselves? Oh, it says here, the Necron's living metal shape warps into what is recognizable as the corrupt and grotesque. Okay, so it just happens. The curse just does it. Notable formations. Court of the Flayer King. Long ago, the destruction of the Catan Landagor the Flayer saw thousands of Necrons afflicted with a terrible curse. It is now impossible to say how many flayed ones there are in existence. dreaming their mad dreams of gore and donning the remnants of flensed skin. As debased creatures of feral instinct, flayed ones gravitate to the mightiest of their kind. These flayer kings have suffered less from the ravages of their curse, but their personalities largely intact. Satan the Enfleshed is one such fiend, his fortunes tied to the royal courts of Domnos. In his wake, blood-mad flayed ones sweep from the shadows, claws gleaming wetly as their sheer proximity to one another sees their gore-hungry madness. That's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Sippy Gamer, welcome, darling. Thank you for the follow. Alright, I've read enough of this. How? Okay, but like, so they just go nest themselves in wherever they want, and then they can travel basically with their little pocket dimensions. Be like, oh, I sense battle in the necrons. I'm gonna just blip on over there. Blip, blip. Oh, guys, I'm here for the party. That's pretty. That seems a little like, that's cool. I like that. Unfortunately, yes. I am doing my little, once a week, I'm trying to dive into some 40k lore, just a little dip. And I randomly click on a name and learn about it. So I'm learning about Ozkan the Codifier. One king is completely sane, but his entire world turned to flayed one, but he's loyal to his people and goes out to get food for his people. How could he be a flayed one if he's... Oh, so he has the hunger, but it just doesn't drive him crazy. He's just not insane from it. Yeah, I'm trying to learn about 40k little by little in small doses. They live in a pocket dimension, separate from other pocket dimensions used by night. So they have a pocket in their pocket. Okay, so apparently Ozkan's experiments are more horrifying than flayed ones. So that puts this into perspective for me. See, this is why I click on those links sometimes. Because I'd been like, okay, more terrible than whatever flayed one. But now I know that actually is pretty terrible. Then. But of late, Ozkan the Codifier has come to believe he has discovered a mortal shell strong enough to contain the consciousness of a necron. Though rare, he even holds that these apex specimens of organic perfection might even be sufficient to host the consciousness of the Crimson Scythe. The body Ozkan has identified is, of course, that of the Adeptus Astartes. I'm so sorry. I always say Astartes, and now I'm gonna get roasted for this, but I'm sorry. I can't read it. Astartes. Adeptus Astartes. I'll think of it like teasing, like, hey, tease, wink, wink. That of the Adeptus Astartes, the sacred transhuman form wrought by the Emperor himself to serve as the champions of mankind. To date, Ozkan has not been able to capture a living space marine, so he has not had the opportunity to test the veracity of his blasphemous theories. He has, however, come into possession of the bodies of several fallen battle brothers, those that fell undertaking the mission led by the outcast Inquisitor Thaddeus Hawk. Every moment he is not maintaining the pretense of following Overlord Regent AHHH's orders, Ozkan spends ensconced in his laboratory, delving into the wonders of Astartes biology, or else coordinating the hunt for a living specimen. When that happens, the venerable Cryptech hopes the process of properly reawakening the Pharaon of the Sub-Hakkar dynasty can begin. He's really interesting. I like him. I like this guy. He's like super smart, and now he's a bit like of a mad scientist of sorts. He's so loyal. He just want to bring back Amontech and put him in a brand new body. Like, here you go, buddy. I love you so much. I woke you up and I put you in a space marine. So, yeah. I'm sort of surprised that he hasn't got a hold of a Adeptus. I'm sort of surprised he hasn't got a hold of a space marine. But I guess it's probably difficult, right? There's, in the vast area of space, they're not exactly common. Thank you for the hydrate. Yeah, death before dishonor. He has to... I like him. He's pretty cool. I hope that they build more on his character. He would definitely be a character I'd be interested in reading more about. You know? And I like how he's like, I'm gonna play along with our rules and then, you know, serve what's going on, but secretly I want my bae. I want my bae back. There. If you see, I like doing these little snippets. These are pretty fun. These are easily digestible. Unlike Dante. Dante was a big boy to swallow. That's what she said. One day I'll click on one of the big ones again too, like Vulcan or something. Reminds me of your Skyrim character. He's pretty nice. I like his little staff. He's got little, almost looks like dreads behind him, even though I know they're not. I bet he said, I know you did, but you know what? I learned so much. I wouldn't have learned about Angelicum if I hadn't clicked on Dante, you know? And yes, that's like the main thing I remember from that. Yeah, I remember that like Space Marines, like obviously playing them, they're very common because they're popular in the Imperium of Man, but in the 40k universe, they're not common at all. They're like the big damn heroes that show up sometimes, maybe. Oh.
Fish on me, there's a fish on you. A fish in the tube, so let's eat fish stew. Fishy take my mane, fishy slurp my tea. Fishy jump in frame, and fishy loves to